All right, this is the Unit 2B practice test, and I am on the first page, 1 through 3. And this is really ends up being short. I'll just do the next page also, so it just depends. All right, so let's start with number 1. Part of a linear function g is graphed on the grid, and they give us a nice picture. Which inequalities best describe the domain and range of the part shown? Okay, so we want domain and range for this equation. And we know that domain is from left to right, range is the bottom to the top or lowest to highest, up and down, however you want to think of it, okay? So if I look at my answer choices, they're all written, well, they seem to be written correctly, okay? So I know, I'm just going to write this here. So domain is my left side less than x less than my right side. Okay, that's an x. And then range is the lowest less than y less than the highest. So without even looking at the graph, I just look at my answer choices. I want to see if any of them are just written incorrectly, meaning my x should be with domain, my y should be with range. Okay, so let's look at A. If I look at A, I have x is on domain, g of x, which again, if you forgot, g or f or whatever letter, g of x equals y. So that is y, okay? So y is with range, that's right. Okay, look at C. X is with range, that's not right. And then y is with domain, so they have these flipped. So because these are flipped, the letters, doesn't matter what the numbers are, that makes the entire answer incorrect. Okay, so let's look at B. X is with domain, g of x is with range, that's right. Look, x is with range, that's wrong. Okay, so D is wrong, we don't need that one. So look, before even looking at numbers or the graph or anything, I got rid of half my answers simply because they aren't written correctly, because I know x has to be a domain. Okay. Now, if I look at the rest of these, if I notice my numbers, -6, 4, -6, 4, -7, 8, -7, 8, those are all the same. Okay. So it really tells me my limits, my left, right, lowest, highest. Okay. So it's telling me what they are. The only difference between any of these is like on domain on the A, the 4 is underlined, the -6 is not. And on domain on B, the 4 is not underlined, the -6 is. So really I'm focusing, now that I've gotten rid of half my answers, I'm focusing on which number or which limit, left or right, should be underlined. Okay. So if I look at my graph, so my left side I know is -6. My right side I know is 4 because it tells me in the answer. So just looking at domain, I only want one thing, right? Don't try to do all of it at once. So my left side, -6, is an open circle. Okay? My right side, 4, is a closed circle. Okay? Open circles, as we know from before, open is not underlined, whereas closed is underlined. So my -6 should not be underlined, and my 4 should be. So if I look at my answer choices, my -6 should not be underlined, my 4 should be. That one's right. -6 should not be underlined, and that one is, which makes that one wrong. So my answer is A. Okay? So a little test-taking strategies from there. Again, just focus on one thing at a time. Try to eliminate answers as you go along. Because if you try to do it all at once, especially if you're not great at this kind of thing, one thing at a time really helps. And it helps you eliminate answers too. All right, number 2. A student worked out at a gym continuously for 40 minutes. The graph shows the calories burned as a linear function of x, the time in minutes. All right, that's great and all. They tell you what the graph shows. You don't really need that part for this question. Because here's the question it asks you. Which answer choice best describes the domain and range of this function for this situation? Okay, so I just want domain and range. That's the important part. And because they give me a graph, it makes it kind of easy. Because again, I go left to right, low to high. Because I'm not going to write that again because I just wrote it. So for domain, if I'm going from left to right, my furthest left is right here, which is 0. My furthest right is right here, which is 40. Okay? And I know, because since I'm on the x-axis, right, domain, that's x. So domain is from 0 to 40. Okay, so before I do anything else, let me go see which answers I can get rid of. So looking at f. F just has 40. Okay, but I know it's between 0 and 40. So that cannot be right. So that was wrong. Okay, G says all numbers, all real numbers, greater than or equal to 0 and less than or equal to 40. Well, I didn't write these on here, but there's no open circles on this line, which would make them both underlined. So less than or equal to is correct. Okay, so I'm between 0 and 40, so that's right on G. G's okay. Domain on B is 450. Well, I didn't even write that down, right? They have 40 down here, which is still wrong because I'm missing the 0. So H is out. And my last one to look at, domain, this one says all real numbers greater than or equal to 0. That's right. And less than or equal to 450. Well, again, I only went to 40, not 450. That makes that wrong. My only answer choice I did not eliminate is G. So see, I didn't even have to look at range. Range made no difference in this question. Now, you could have done the same thing and just looked at range, which is the up and down part. I could have done that by itself, and that alone would have done the same thing. But again, you only have to do one or the other. Okay, it's rare that you have to do both. I mean, sometimes you do, and you're wondering probably where's an example of that. Number 3 is an example, so let me show you. Number 3, what are the domain and range of the graph? Okay, so it's just asking for domain and range. So again, I have a picture, right? Domain is left to right. But on this one, I have not had this before, but on number 3, I have arrows. Okay? We know arrows mean infinity. So left, going straight left is negative infinity, and going right is positive infinity. Okay? So if I go from negative infinity to positive infinity, you can say negative infinity to positive infinity, or you can say all real numbers, okay, because you're just saying that's every number possible. All right, so let's look at my answer choices. Again, I'm going to do one thing at a time. So domain, 2, just 2. Okay, well, I just said I go from negative to positive infinity, so I can't just be 2, right? I'm every single number, so that's wrong. Okay, look at B, all real numbers greater than or equal to 2. Well, if I go to negative infinity, I'm going to go below 2, right? So that one can't be right. B's wrong. C just says all real numbers. Okay, well, all real numbers is from negative infinity to positive infinity. That's every number. So that one's okay. And D also says all real numbers. So C and D are good. So see, on this one, I have to look at the range also. Sometimes that happens, but at least I have half of my answers gone. Okay, so let's look at range. We know range is on Y, or up and down. But if I go up and down to look for my graph, notice I'm only on one line. My line does not go up, it does not go down. It stays on the same number, which if we count is 2. Okay? That means my range is 2 and nothing else, because I don't go above 2, I don't go below 2. So looking at my answer choices, look at C. Range is 2. That's right. I'm 2 and nothing else. And if I look at D, all numbers greater than or equal to 2. Well, I just said I don't go up or down, so that's wrong. It has to be C. Okay? So I'm going to go ahead and stop the video because I don't want to make it too long. So if you need the next page, then go find the next video.